Cult of the Deep is a hidden role dice game for 4 to 8 players, where you are a cultist trying to complete your faction's rise to power. Fight over rituals and mythic monsters as you seek to control the cult and victory. Your actions are driven by dice, which you may use to help or betray other cultists. To start the game, you're going to gather a set of roll cards determined by the number of players. You can see in the rulebook for your combinations required. Shuffle these and hand out one to each player face down. The next thing you're going to do is shuffle all the sigil cards and place one of those to each player face down. Then you have to decide whether you're going to use the Necromancer card. The Necromancer card is a variant in the game that we'll get to at the end, but for right now we'll consider it not being used. Next, shuffle and stack all the Wrath cards to form the Wrath deck and set that off to the side. Set out the number of altar boards depending on the number of players. For a 5 or 6 player game, you're going to have out 3 altar boards. For a 7 or 8 player game, you're going to have out 4 altar boards. Then you're going to shuffle the ritual cards and put a ritual card on each of the altar board. You will also place 2 cubes on the ritual boards, and those will be set equal to the number of players in the game. You're going to create supplies of your ritual coins within each of the players, and whoever has the High Priest roll now reveals it. All other rolls remain hidden. Next, you're going to shuffle the character card deck and hand out a character card to each player. After the character cards are handed out, you flip these over. You will then get heart counters equal to the health on that card. So let's go ahead and get in how to play. The most important thing in Cult of the Deep is how you're going to win. Your victory depends on the hidden role you were dealt, and you need to try to deduce who the other cultists are to achieve your victory or deny them theirs. The High Priest is revealed at the beginning of the game and remains revealed. The High Priest is the first player. The High Priest wins if all the Kabbalists and heretics die while you remain alive. The Faithful wins if the High Priest is alive and all the Kabbalists and heretics die. Kabbalists win if the High Priest dies and at least one Kabbalist is still alive. Kabbalists have the Grave Vengeance ability. If every Kabbalist, including you, is dead, you only win if the heretic is the last cultist alive or everyone is dead. Repentant Heretic. You win if you are the cultist alive or everyone dies. Deathbed Confessions. While dead, you win if the High Priest is alive and all Kabbalists are dead. Vengeful Heretic. You win if you are the cultist alive or everyone dies. Wrathful Retribution. While dead, you win if the High Priest dies and at least one Kabbalist is alive. Now, Cult of the Deep is played in a series of rounds until a win condition is resolved. During each round, a player is going to roll their 5 dice. They are allowed to re-roll up to 3 times and can keep in as many dice as they want between rolls. After rolling, a player needs to commit their dice. When a player commits their dice, each cultist has a power symbol on their character. Only you can commit your dice to your character power symbol. When you commit a dice matching your power symbol to your character, you will gain a health. You can also commit dice to rituals, and the dice has to match the symbol or symbols available on the ritual. When you do that, you can trigger the ritual effect and lower the ritual marker. You can also commit dice to other players. When you commit dice to other players, you either use the sword or double sword. The single sword does 1 damage, the double sword does 2. Before your dice are resolved, you have to allow your opponents to have a response phase. During the response phase, other players can use ability or dice or other game effects to either reroll, recommit, or change how you committed your dice. After this is completed, you do the resolve phase. You will resolve each of the dice in the locations that they were committed. When you resolve a die on a ritual that matches the symbol of one of the dice that you had, you advance the ritual marker 1 space to the left. If you do, you gain the altar benefit of that ritual. If all markers on a ritual are at 0, you have completed the ritual and become its keeper. When you become a ritual's keeper, you get the keeper effect if there is one. You will retain that ritual until you are killed. When you are killed, if you're killed by another player, that player becomes the keeper of that ritual and gets the card. If you die by any other means, the ritual is discarded. Rituals can have some components that are unique to them. They are the Kraken die. Before your roll phase, roll each Kraken die on your character. You lose life equal to the roll total. You may re-roll this die, but every time you do, you lose a die that you can roll during your turn. Siren coins. During any living cultist response phase, you may spend 1 siren coin to recommit one of their dice to a cultist or ritual of your choice. Chant coin. During your commit phase, you may spend any number of chant coins to change the face of dice before you commit them, but you cannot change any double swords. Additionally, in the game, you have sigil cards. Sigil cards are a once per game effect. You can flip the card over anytime to perform your once per game effect. Now, in a game of Cult of the Deep, when you die, the game is not necessarily over. If no one has met their win condition, you will then become a wraith. When you become a wraith, you gain a new ability, but you lose any ritual cards you have. You also lose your dice and gain new wraith dice. These dice will initially be the faces that are on the card, and this will allow you to respond to other players until it's your turn and they become rolled. You can still win the game as a wraith, so hang in there. So in a nutshell, that is the rules of Call of the Deep. Again, the game will end immediately if all the cultists and heretics are dead. The high priest and the faithful win together. The high priest is dead, the game immediately ends. If the heretic is the only living cultist remaining, that person wins. If everyone dies, the heretic wins. Otherwise, all Kabbalists win. Now we can go ahead and briefly talk about the Necromancer variant. The Necromancer variant gives a Necromancer card to a player. There are 2 different ways that you can perform this variant and give out the Necromancer card. During setup, you shuffle the Necromancer card along with the other cards before dealing one to each player. Or, after playing out rolls, the High Priest reveals their role and you give the Necromancer card, then continue setup as normal. If the Necromancer dies, they do not lose their ability when they become a Wraith. Place the Wraith card beside the Necromancer card, not on top of it. They will continue to play as a Wraith. However, the Necromancer has the ability to revive themselves during the game. If they do, they discard their Wraith card and resume playing as a living character. If the High Priest is the Necromancer, their loss condition and that of the Faithful changes. The High Priest and the Faithful only lose when both the High Priest Necromancer and all the Faithful are dead. As long as one Faithful or the High Priest are still alive, while all Kabbalists and heretics are dead, the High Priest and Faithful all win. If the Faithful is a Necromancer, their win condition remains the same. Heretics and Kabbalists, their victory condition of Kabbalists and heretics remain the same. But note that they can resurrect themselves, so this can actually be a consideration during gameplay. And that has been a brief overview of the game Cult of Deep. Please check out their Kickstarter, and thank you for watching.